Hey guys, what's going on? This is Case and welcome back to the channel. So we have some crazy news that took place today. President Trump came out this afternoon and announced 4 executive actions that he is providing for stopgaps as a result of Congress not passing the stimulus package. So today is going to be a stimulus package update and stimulus update for August 8th, 2020. So let's just kind of hop into this. I want to kind of get everything out of the way. I want to provide details as to what got approved today, what this means for you guys, and what we can anticipate moving forward. So let's just kind of hop into this. So today, Donald Trump, he approved 4 executive actions. He signed that into law. And what he did is the intention was to provide 4 things. One was a stopgap measure for the enhanced unemployment. One was for the student loans stopgaps. Another one was for eviction moratoriums. And another one, a very questionable one, might I add, is the payroll taxes. So I'm going to discuss with you guys exactly what these are. So make sure you listen to the video in its entirety and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So the first thing I want to discuss with you guys is the enhanced unemployment. So in the first executive action that Donald Trump signed today, he authorized the federal government to pay $300 per week for people on unemployment, not $400. He said that it's going to be $400, but he wants the states to provide the additional $100. So he's approved up to $400. A lot of people are putting $400 just flat out and leaving it there and not explaining that. So it's actually $300 that he approved. That should say that the federal government is going to be providing. And then he stated that he wants the states to pull out their additional $100 from the CARES Act funding that they got approved back in the middle of May. So people were asking Donald Trump, where are you going to get this money if Congress hasn't approved this? Because you're the president and we're not quite sure if you have the ability to approve this or not. And Donald Trump said that he's going to be pulling the money from the $44 billion of the federal funds from the Department of Homeland Security's Disaster Relief Fund. So the president has the ability to pull funds or reallocate funds that have already been approved by Congress, and that's what he's doing. So he's not approving funds that haven't been approved yet. He's just basically reallocating funds that have already been approved by Congress for other things. So he's just basically moving funds around. And so what he's done is that he has announced that he's going to be pulling $44 billion from the Department of Homeland Security's Disaster Relief Fund and providing $300 out of that money for all of the Americans for the enhanced unemployment. He is going to allow up to an additional $100 for the states to pull their money out from the CARES Act that's already been pre-approved in May to a total $400 per week. So if you guys are unemployed, unfortunately, you are going to be getting additional enhanced unemployment. It's going to be up to $400. More than likely, you will get the full $400. He did not specify when this is going to take effect, but he did say that it's going to happen very rapidly. So my anticipation is that we're probably going to be looking at this potentially taking place the beginning of next week once it's signed into bill, which actually took place this afternoon. So that's a positive news, right? So we didn't get the $600 as we anticipated. He was asked about that, and he basically said that he thought that $600 disincentivized people. The second thing I want to go over is the student loans. So Donald Trump also extended the relief for student loan borrowers. So student loan interest rates were cut to 0 earlier this year, and students were allowed to suspend payments all the way through September. So Donald Trump today, he directed the Secretary of Education to extend the relief to the end of the year and said that an additional extension is highly likely. So that's a positive news. So if you have student loans, you are allowed to defer your payments with no penalty up to the end of the year, and probably likely beyond that, but at least until the end of the year. So that's kind of a cut and dry thing, and that's a very positive thing, so people aren't very far back on their student loan payments. Now, the third thing that was discussed today, or I should say was approved today, was the evictions. In the executive order calling to minimize the evictions, Donald Trump, he directed various federal agencies to make funds available for temporary financial assistance for renters and homeowners who are facing financial hardship caused by the pandemic. Now, in addition to that, the order is going to freeze evictions on more than 12 million renters who live in federally subsidized apartments or units with federally backed mortgages. So that's a very positive news because the original moratorium was expired on July 25th, and so he has extended that up until the end of the year. In addition to the eviction moratorium, he's also directing the Department of the Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, to consider whether temporarily halting residential evictions for failure to pay rent are reasonably necessary to prevent the further spread. So, he's put the eviction on there, and he's basically also having additional agencies look to make sure that it is going to be within the guidelines so that, he can't get sued or something like that. Now, that's a positive. Now, in addition to that, there's the fourth thing that is really, really questionable. Now, what this is the payroll tax, and I'm going to tell you guys why this is a very questionable thing. So, anytime that you hear the word taxes and you hear deferment, or you hear deferment or whatnot, that's relatively good news outside of the fact that you're going to have to pay that later. But if you guys notice, they didn't say that this was a federal tax deferment. It's a payroll tax deferment. And what's very confusing about this is that when you hear the word payroll, most people think of a company deferring payroll taxes. But what this actually is that they should have called this the Social Security tax deferment. Okay, and the reason that I say this is because what's happening right now is that if you make $100,000 or less, which most people do, okay, as of September 1st, it means that you're going to be collecting bigger paychecks, but you're going to be doing it at the expense of no longer funding Social Security and Medicare. So that's a really, really big issue. So the reason that's a very big problem is because, of course, Social Security and Medicare, it affects our older generation. It affects also, even if you're younger down the road, when you hit retirement age, to be able to collect on Social Security and Medicare, and also Medicaid. And as of right now, the president is deferring that. Now, if you guys aren't aware, Social Security and Medicare was kind of already on the ropes anyway, because Congress and the government has been slowly, I don't want to say defunding it, but for lack of a better word, they have been making it very hard to keep that very replenished. And now, basically, with this tax deferment, it is accelerating Social Security and Medicare being basically defunded. Now, they could have potentially tried to do a federal tax deferment, but I'm not sure that the president would have had the authority in order to do that. And so what he basically did was he decided to just defer the Social Security and Medicare tax. Now, this is a very important thing to remember, because what this means is that you may still have to pay it. Well, as a matter of fact, you will, as of right now, have to pay it next year. So come your taxes all the way from September, October, November, December, to where you haven't paid Social Security taxes on your checks, come the end of next year, you're going to owe more taxes than you originally would. Now, he did say that the Republicans in Congress are in discussions and negotiations to basically wipe it out completely to where you don't have to pay it. But I'm not so sure that that's a good thing, because if he does that, then that just flat out means the Social Security and Medicare is even further being defunded, and we have no intentions on replenishing that down the road. So that's actually a tax that I don't mind paying. It would have been great for them to have done a federal tax deferment, right? So that way you can defer those federal taxes instead of actually defunding, or I should say deferring, funds for programs that I think actually help the American people. So, I don't know how I feel about that one, but I wanted to be very clear as to what that meant, because people see payroll tax and deferment and everyone gets excited. But just understand that what you're basically doing is he's absolving you of having to pay taxes into public programs that are designed to help you, and to help us. So hopefully, hopefully I'd say, next year we are required to pay that, to go back and pay those taxes, because again, it's not, those aren't taxes that are going to just the government's pocket so that they can go and do whatever else. These are actually public programs that are being defunded, that help the American people. And so I certainly hope that they end up requiring us to pay that back. But if they don't, you just understand that it's not all roses and peaches if they don't require us. So what does this all mean, guys? Well, as of right now, it's very positive news that the enhanced unemployment was extended. We didn't get the $600 like we anticipated, but we got something. We did get $400. Now, $300 of it, like I said, is definitive, is guaranteed. This is on top of what you were already receiving. So whatever your unemployment was originally, you are going to get an additional $300 on top of that a week, which actually is pretty good news. And then once the states kick in, which hopefully will be at the same time, you will see up to $400 additional on your weekly unemployment checks. So that's excellent news. It means that student loans, they're postponed. It means that students aren't going to have to worry about defaulting on their loans, and they're going to have to pay interest. They're not deferring the interest; they're stopping the interest, my understanding, up until the end of the year. So that's excellent. There won't be any additional penalty. And then obviously the evictions. That's a huge one, right? I mean, we can't have people, whether you're on a federally backed mortgage or not, being evicted. I mean, as of right now, yes, obviously, if you are a landlord, which I am, I'd love for my tenants to pay rent and do that timely. But because of this unprecedented pandemic right now, millions upon millions of Americans are in very hardships. And, I think that we need to be very sensitive of that and to ensure that people are able to provide for their families and have a place to have a roof over their head and to be able to provide and take care of their families until everyone can get back on their feet. And so I think it's good news that they put the moratorium on evictions. It sucks for landlords. I get it. Landlords are obviously there to not only help and provide housing, but to make a few dollars. But it's in the best interest of all of Americans in our country. And hopefully, once this pandemic can get out of the way and jobs can start coming back, everyone can kind of get back into the workforce and start making money and being able to get back out to spending and consuming. So that's a good thing. And like I said, guys, the payroll tax, I already told you all about that one. That's kind of a catch-22 at this point. You're deferring taxes for a program that we actually need, and for all intents and purposes, these programs just may flat out disappear. So, some positive news, right? I mean, all heck is not going to hit the fan. People are going to be able to stay in their houses. Unemployment's been extended. That's great. But what about those stimulus checks? What about those $1,200 stimulus checks? Well, as of right now, they're kind of on hold until Congress gets together and figures out a stimulus package approval, right? So, what's so ironic about this is that was the one thing Congress agreed on was the stimulus checks, right? That's the one thing that people were waiting on, that and unemployment, and that's the one thing that we're not getting. So hopefully Congress comes to the senses, they approve something in the next couple of days, and they can get that done. Now, here's the other kicker as well. In terms of the executive orders that President Trump signed today, he actually may get sued. And I'm going to tell you why. People are questioning whether or not he has the executive authority in order to put this into law. Now, typically when it goes to funding these types of programs, Congress has to approve these things. And even though he's reallocating funds, we're not entirely sure that he has the full executive power to do that. Now, here's the thing. If Congress does decide to step in and sue him and postpone this, well, that's going to be heck to pay, because then that means the moratoriums, everything, gets lifted, and then we're back to being, back to square one. And I don't think that we want that. So I do think that Congress is probably going to let this pass. Yes, it kind of does have egg on their face because they were not able to come to an agreement for whatever reason. But I think for the most part, this is very positive news. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you excited that we got the unemployment benefits extended? Are you excited that we got the student loans and evictions and moratoriums? Or would you guys would have liked to have seen more from Congress last week? And to where we could have gotten the $600 and where we could have gotten the stimulus checks that we're all still waiting on and that we hopefully look forward to receiving. So other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are new to the channel, this is a financial education channel. This is where we talk a lot about financial education with how to save, how to invest, the psychology of money, just all kind of the pitfalls and the traps, and how to actually grow wealthy and how to get financial freedom. But as of late, I've been doing a lot of videos on the stimulus package and stimulus updates for obvious reasons, and hopefully this has been a very helpful and beneficial video to you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure that you guys hit the like on the video. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe so that you stay up to date on the latest content, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Till then, take care.